Hello, girls and guys. Well, first, I have a question for all the girls, okay? So, tell me, how many of you have ever faced any sort of restrictions during your periods when you bleed? I'm pretty sure all of you would say, well, yeah, it's there, it happens almost all the time, right? During that time of the month. So, why did I mention that? I'll tell you in a while. While reading this book, which we are continuing, The Free Voice, I found this chapter pretty interesting. And the title goes like, The Babas of India are here to stay. But why did I mention about menstruation? Let's find that out. Frequently at the beginning of women's periods, a situation arises in which bleeding starts when they are in their houses' most pure and sacred locations. Generally those areas which are forbidden, like the kitchen while cooking or the puja room while cleaning it, or some of the other similar places where women are not meant to be at that time of the month. In the first days of the bleeding, one doesn't lay a hand on anything in the kitchen at all. But this is a cycle which happens every month and it is not in your hands at all. So if any such incident has happened to you during the entire year, there is one day to deliver you from your pap bodh, the sense of sin. And the day is that auspicious day is the Rishi Panchami. Well, this is an excerpt from a video that Ravish was watching on YouTube, where there was a Baba who was featured on one of the top 3 Hindi news channels on television. Yes, this was being broadcasted in our national television. Well, then he goes on to say that Babas are actually master salesmen. In the process of peddling a single cure for the 108 ills which afflict human beings, they build their own personal financial empires. And if you are a bit wise, then you'd know whom he is referring to. A good clue there. But what he says that these people, these modern day Babas, have actually kind of blended the traditional stuff, like tradition and modernity. Suits them, convenient for them. Well, so he goes on to talk about astrologers and everything, and then he says that there are actually a very few people who don't believe in astrology, but there are most of the people who indeed believe in it. So here he brings a very interesting observation. He says that I don't know anyone who doesn't consult an astrologer as routinely as they would a doctor. I mean, that is interesting, isn't it? Then he brings a comparison here between the rich and the poor. Okay, so in comparison to Babas who broadcast in Hindi, those who do so in English are a class apart. In place of daily horoscopes, they peddle life management pills to harried customers. Interviews in English speaking Babas are conducted very respectfully, and the English speaking Babas look down upon Hindi speaking ones with contempt. When a poor person takes refuge with a Baba for the sake of spiritualism, it is called superstition. And when a rich person does the same in the name of spiritualism, it is called stress management codes. Is it not interesting? Well, then he goes on to talk about a few other nonsense stuff that goes on. He says that the only difference between these two Babas, like the Hindi speaking and the English speaking ones, is that the English speaking ones actually speak in English and they peddle aloe vera juice. So they in fact sell you their aloe vera juice. So it's pretty interesting to see that. In contemporary India, political leaders and ministers conduct secret pujas which cost lakhs of rupees. No one talks about this expenditure which remains unrecorded either by PAN cards or Aadhaar numbers. And then he says our political class is the biggest guardian of superstition. That's pretty true. Starting from cricketers to celebrities, everyone is in a way, guardian of all sorts of superstitions and blind beliefs, he says. But there is a difference. When poor people do that, it is called superstition. But when any rich person, celebrity, cricketer, political person does that, it is given a fancy name. You may name it anything. So he says that it is nonsense too to say that news channels are responsible for the birth and proliferation of these Babas, because they have anyway their own established empires. So they quite not really need anyone's support to grow, sort of things. So he says that there is fierce competition among the astrology programs on Hindi channels. Each program has its own brand image, that. So he says that crores of Indians live their entire lives below the poverty line, but these Babas will come and tell you like how you should do some Mahalakshmi puja or some other stuff of other kind of puja, and you will get crores of money which will help you for next 7 births, 7 lifetimes. So all this kind of stuff goes on all the time, he says. And that is the reason why he says that these Babas of India are here to stay. They are not going anywhere. And now moving on to the next chapter, how we love. Well, so not everyone is in love, nor does everyone have the courage to love. In our country, most people only love in their imagination. I would not know how it is in other places, but in India, to love is to battle with innumerable strictures imposed by society and religion. Love is a forbidden subject even within the 4 walls of our homes. How many parents say to their children, "Is there someone special in your life?" How many ask their daughters, "Do you like someone? Are you in love?" With such little support, love is not a simple matter of saying "I love you," especially in India. So we all learn to imagine love through cinema. Films are the sculptors of our divine madness. Generations of filmmakers, songwriters, and musicians have burnt out their imaginations teaching us how to love. They have taught us the art of gazing for the first time at someone and the trick of colliding with them by accident. And in the process, sometimes films have turned us into lovers, but some other times into laphangas. But films have not always made us good lovers. The films coming from Mumbai kept trying only to breach the high wall between the rich and the poor, the class divide of the society. That was the extent of their revolution. They couldn't go beyond it. Rich women are always heartbreakers, always disloyal. Like there was this set pattern, the set trope was there. And in some films, rich women did leave behind everything to be with the love of their life. But the dominant narrative remained that in the world of love, wealth too is a caste. Everyone should stay within the confines of their caste and explore the possibilities of love there. So, wow, just interesting. Innumerable lovers have lit up the Hindi silver screen, but they are just two beautiful bodies. They have no caste, no religion. In the fantasy world of our filmmakers, love is also a fantasy. Lyricists have never written a song where a young man confronts his lover's social background. All heroes are upper caste, either Kapoor or Mathur or Saxena. Heroines have been either Lily, Millie or plain silly. Sorry. The heroine drops fully formed and chaste from the skies. Countless stories of Hindi cinema have put love at the service of the status quo. Whereas in love, you simply cannot be status quoist. You have to first vault over the wall of caste. Films which preach Hindu-Muslim unity have very deliberately steered clear of Hindu-Muslim love stories. Then he goes on to talk about that as well, like how there have been like our politics too cannot imagine a love that smashes the barriers of caste and religion in the social context of like love in today's world. These were love marriages, but such couples do not display their love in public. It is in exactly such a society that possibilities emerge for revolutionary love. You must have noticed how often I have used the word wall. That really is the tragedy. In India, there is no love without a wall. It's a complicated business. Love, it turns you into a rebel. It makes you go crazy and do all the stuff. But then he gives a few examples of how some lyricists have written some fancy song around it. Escape is the only space for love in India. That's nice. Then he has again goes on to talk about how Bollywood has portrayed love all the time, and just through a few examples. But then he says, hats off to all the lovers of India. There is no place to meet, yet you don't give up. You find a way. You pull down the plastic curtains in auto rickshaws. You squander your entire pocket money on auto fares. Despite the glares from passerbys, you let your head rest on your lover's shoulder. It's kind of doing an activism, sort of in India while you are in love, he says. So naturally, society would not have approved of you doing all this stuff. So love is a very forbidden subject in India, but he says that love makes us human. That is ishq. It makes us responsible and slightly better human beings than we were before. All lovers are not ideal humans, nor always good, but the one who is in love can at least imagine a better world. In some places, you can hold hands as you walk in the city of your imagination, as he says. So then he gives a few more examples, but at last he says love makes us a little vulnerable too, a little hesitant. But then you look for yourself apart from looking for someone else, and look for the dreams you want to realize for someone else's sake. So he ends it with this note, like it's also kind of self-exploration journey kind of a stuff love is, and how it has always been romanticized by Bollywood in a way. And at last he says love can save us, but we never really let it bloom in our society. Now we have raised an army to police love and to kill it. You must have known the love jihad incident, right? We have become killers, right? Living in a society of crowds of unsuccessful and timid lovers, we have become killers. First, we extinguish any possibility of love that we may have. We kill our love, and then we target someone else's love. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.